Oh, hi there. How about we continue our conversation about translating proportions into 3D forms with the help of this little coffee foamer? Eh? Last time we were talking about how to draw everything with the help of boxes, but I didn't get around to actually draw boxes. So this time around, let me start out with this box. And before I actually get into it, let me go all the way back a little bit when we were talking about perspective. And for that, I'm going to construct a cube here, how we learn it in the beginning of our perspective lessons. It's also important because this will show you how really important it is for you to step away from this and to internalize this and not having to put down these vanishing points. Because what you need to learn is to take these boxes that you can draw now without actually putting down vanishing points, and you need to be able to rotate them and twist them and turn them. That's why I put the A on the side of that box, and now you can see me trying and twisting and turning it into all sorts of different positions, keeping in mind that basically the vanishing point of the box will change with it, because you can't have the same vanishing points for the box if you want to twist it. So if we look at the box, if we look at all the lines that go towards a vanishing point, and then we twist these, like you could have the vanishing points that you set up on the horizon line stay the same, but the vanishing points of the box will change, as you can see here. So I move the box, and I also turn and rotate the box a little bit, and it's not necessarily going to be the same vanishing points. And this is something you have to learn and keep in mind if you really want to use boxes to measure all the proportions correctly, and if you want to recreate something as close as you can to the thing that you see on the screen. And obviously not just on the screen, but in reality, because we don't always just want to draw after we see an image. Now, what I'm going to do here is I go back a little bit to last video where I did this measurements, where I had this grid, and you can see that I divided, well, I sort of used the natural divisions of the object itself, where the half line is exactly at the middle line of that grid that I did. And then I can translate that onto my 3D box, and I'm going to slowly draw it around it. So I make sure to draw throughout the whole box. So this is also something that even if you don't want to draw the box, or if you're looking at nature, it's good to draw through it, because then at least you see what's happening. And I also made a little mistake. I found my box to be a little bit too wide compared to the object that I was drawing, so I did some readjustments there. And then basically you can see me subdivide each side into two, so vertical and the horizontal subdivision. And I make sure to do these subdivisions also in the bottom, top, but also on that center layer that I drew there. And then those will give me sort of the ellipses that go from bottom towards the upper side. And what we've learned from perspective as well, ellipses will become more and more skewed and flattened the closer they are becoming to the horizon line. And it is visible here that the horizon line is somewhere above our drawings, and then as we go closer to it, those ellipses will become quite a bit sharper. I do see that I didn't do exactly the same angle as I have in the image here, but I did come quite close to it. And in the end, it's not always about the perfect replication of what we are seeing. It's also about understanding and being able to sort of adjust and recreate what we see in every other shape. And we're going to be talking about that just in a minute, but first let me finish this drawing right here. And as you could see, I already transferred that vertical sectioning line onto the cylinder body itself. And now I also drew some horizontal sectioning lines that are basically the same that we established in the previous video from the side view of the object. And with the help of those, I know exactly how high I have to draw this button interface. And well, the width of it, I mostly just guess and go by feeling, but these section lines really help me to see, okay, what is the right proportion. I do the same thing here on the other side where I have the handle, and there you can see me switch back and forth between the two views, because then I can count, okay, so it's basically, if we take the half of it as one unit, then 1/4 of that half will be exactly how low that handle starts. And then I will have to, from there on, I will just have to look at all these sizes and draw a couple of extra section lines also on the lower part, as you can see, on the object. And from there on, I know how low that handle has to go. And basically from here on, it's really just constructing almost the same thing that we did previously in the previous video, but now I'm just doing it on these skewed and tilted surfaces. So that is also why it's important, as I said in the beginning, that you have to, not just in the beginning, but also in a previous video when we drew measurements of this foaming device onto those tilted surfaces, because that's basically what I'm doing here. I have these tilted sides, and if not sides, because we're talking about the cylinder right now, but I can use these tilted surfaces to get some measurements, right? And then I just paste that onto the device itself. And then when you're done with that, obviously you just have to go with and make it prettier. If I would want to finalize this drawing here, I would obviously redraw everything on a new layer, because this is very measured and not so nice. But yeah, this is how you try and come close to drawing something in perspective like this. So taking all those measurements that we did in a flat surface, and then we put them into a 3D surface. And talking of 3D, let's actually use the properties of 3D and rotate our little coffee foamer a little bit, so that we can draw it from a different angle without actually having to look at it. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it in our minds. And for that, again, we draw a cube, and within this cube, now we're going to rotate it 90 degrees, so that the button, instead of pointing to the left, is going to point to the right side. You're going to see in a minute. But first of all, what I said, very important to know to rotate and move this imperfect cube around. And as you can see in here, the drawing process in it is pretty much the same. Establish how the ellipses are going to change and just draw the basic cylinder. And as soon as I get to the buttons area, I put that vertical division line, and I also subdivide it into the 4 equally distant points that we had before. And then, because that I already know from the previous drawing that that's how it has to be. And to do the handle, because I have to draw through the drawing a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change color, and I'm going to indicate the subdivision with that. So we have the center line that we divide into 2, and then we divide into 2 again. So we have 4 divisions, but as we can see, the handle starts actually at 1/8. So keep that in mind as I start drawing then, that it starts at 1/8, but it finishes at 1/4, if I'm correct. And then basically just start drawing with those proportions. I didn't necessarily measure how long it goes out. That was by eye, but I felt that that was pretty good. But the important part is that having that subdivision line on the back side of the cylinder that you actually don't see, because from there you can make sure that you place it correctly, because that's where things go bad. When you have something that's halfway covered by the object itself, and then you just draw something and you don't think about, okay, how is that actually connected to there? And I thought, okay, let's also go a little bit more difficult. Let's lay this object down. And if it would be laying down, it means that it would be on its side, because it would be resting on the handle itself. So we draw the box, the imperfect cube in this case, and you can see those division lines on the faces, on the top, bottom, and in the center. Now, those we will have to rotate, because we use those for a placement of the handle as well. So it means if the handle is sideways at 45 degree-ish, which means that we will have to rotate that. And you can see that with blue. I rotated that with around 45 degrees. And from here on, you would have to do the same thing with subdividing, and then you could draw ellipses for each one of them. But I just use the length of the box, or the imperfect cube in this case, to draw the handle of our little coffee maker, and then just go in with black. So you can use the box, the construction box itself, to get the right dimensions in this case. And this is why it's important for you to understand how to measure something in space, because you can look at it at least once from every angle, and then you know how to replicate it. If you know how to put it into a box, or well, obviously not a perfect box, and then you know how to rotate and place that box in a 3D space, it means that you can recreate this in a drawing from every angle basically you want to. And that's the importance of translating and transferring the proper proportions into perspectives, into these skewed views. And let's end this video by showing you that you don't need any digital tools. Just because I could use the ellipse tool in Sketchbook Pro doesn't mean that you can't do this traditionally. And I'm going to only use pencil and the cheapest fine liner that you can find in any supermarket, and only towards the end I'm going to go in with just a couple of gray markers. So you don't need any fancy tools like these, or techniques and things that you can really start applying right now. It's really just putting down those measurements, setting up that imperfect cube that helps you translate the measurements from 2D to 3D and helps you really measure the proportions of the device that you're, or device of the product that you're drawing, or it could be also anything. But yeah, so as you can see, use a pencil, use whatever you have. Tools should never stop you. I hope that everything in these last two videos that I thought you can take it away and start using it. And feel free to send me messages with things that you drew. Also, you can message me on Instagram if you drew anything or you have questions, or also here in the comment section, just leave me a message if you have questions or if you drew something and you would like to show me. But yeah, that's it for the second part of this little fundamentals series. I hope you found it useful and you took something away from it. If you liked it, hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content like this. So hit that little bell button as well, so you get notified when I upload new videos. And yeah, you can also follow me on Instagram for regular drawing related uploads. But the most important thing, as always, is that you folks have a great time, and see you next time. Bye-bye. you.